Hey all, good morning, happy Sunday. This is Jesse Noller, owner, KillingJokeMushrooms.com. I'm out here in the garden. Yes, I am not in the lab. No, instead I'm recording a short video because I'm actually out in the garden and I have something exciting to share. So shortly after I moved in, there was a birdhouse up here in the garden and it had long gone to pot. And the rabbits and birds, etc., had been coming and going, obviously, and just really wrecking the place. But one of the interesting things is I actually found a stump that was half buried that had oyster mushrooms growing throughout all of it. And a couple of months later, we also found morels. And so obviously the birds and the rabbits have been bringing those genetics here and just sort of dropping them off, or they blew here via spores and things like that. I am near quite a few open spaces. Anyways, short version is I actually saved all of the genetics and I put it back into the garden and I tilled it back into the soil. And I covered the entire area with sawdust, water, and other old potting soil. This is the result. As you can see right here, this is all mycelium, right? This is nice and hard, stiff, like a shell. And that's because it's super duper dried out, right? Sort of the bad news with Colorado and growing things out here is that we don't get enough humidity to actually be able to do anything. So instead, what I'm going to do is I've already covered this with shade cloth, but I've only got one little thing of, maybe morels are in here, and I've only got one little thing of oyster mushrooms. So what are we gonna do? And I've got this great big spot. Let's dial it up to 11. So what I've got here is a great big 3-pound block, 2-pound block oyster mushroom spawn, pearl specifically, and I have a 1-quart jar of king oyster spawn. Also with me, I've got a 10-pound block of mixed sawdust blend that I use in all of my blocks. I also have a 5-gallon pail of potting soil. So what I'm going to do, and I'll actually I'll post this on Instagram, is I'm going to start putting down the sawdust spawn, or the sawdust. Then I'm going to break this spawn up. Got a pair of rubber gloves in my pocket. Then I'm going to go through and I'm going to mix it into this topsoil. I'm going to break up this white mycelium, put it into the soil. It will inoculate the sawdust and soil and the other various layers of dead and dying plant life that I've added into this, because that's really all I've done. It's basically a really fancy compost pile, but it looks really nice. I've already buried 1 pint of red reishi up here, and it's somewhere in the dirt. So I'm pretty excited because once again, it works. See? A couple of months, this should be nicely grown wild oyster mushrooms. So if you want to do this in your garden, feel free to DM me and I can actually hook you up with everything that you need to actually go and plant fresh mushrooms out in your garden. Now I will say, if you've got sun like this in Colorado, get a greenhouse or shade cloth. And if you don't have a lot of humidity, get ready for a water bill. All right, peace. Happy Sunday.